When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Supposed to ride, standing in the station, ready to step inside. All you can see, something that you do, was red as the future was waiting for you. Train rolls in the station, you cannot make a move. Something inside you gives you heat, and then you know it's true. Is the fog lifting, or is it in your mind? You stand frozen as time unwinds. And moan, you can't reach your hand up and stop standing alone. Let them take your hand as you lift your face. Rise and take your place.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Hey folks, it's good to be back, to have the team back together, because it's been a couple weeks.
Yep, finally I get to put my 2 cents in.
Right, well, you were doing it, and I wasn't here, and then I was doing it, and you weren't here, and now we're back.
I tried to watch last week. Charlie was doing it, but my internet was not good.
Was not good, so
He looked a lot like me, though, all hunched back. And
I love the fact that when Charlie Cook was filling in as you, he's wearing a plaid shirt, tried to fluff his beard a little bit, ball cap. See, and so he was trying to do his very best Rob imitation, though he wasn't up on rifling, though. That's
you can't cover it all.
You can't. So. Whoa! Watch me! I'm gonna break my chair, fall out of the chair, and be laying on the floor here. Wow.
Yeah, the thing is, I haven't actually been. I haven't been shooting anything. But I'm
gonna break my chair, fall out of the chair, and be laying on the floor here. Wow.
Yeah, the thing is, I haven't actually been. I haven't been shooting anything, but I have been buying stuff, because you know how it is. You can lay on your back and
you can buy
stuff.
Okay. So what have you? Will you share with the listeners, or is it a secret?
Well, I bought just before I got sick. I bought a little Enfield that is. It just looked weird in the auction site, so it's like I had to have it, and I could have overpaid like a carbine. But you can find, if you look for shortened and lightened Enfields, they'll talk about some of that stuff. And the Australians, this is an Australian gun, the Australians made some with certain serial numbers, but they also show this guy, he has like 16 or 18 he's found different places, and all of them were drill purpose guns, which mine is marked drill purpose, but from the receiver back, buttstock, all that stuff is all serial numbered in one set of numbers. And then from that number forward is the new barrel, the bayonet mile, all that stuff is all serial numbered with a different number. And but where the sight protectors and all that stuff, they've cut a lot of weight out of all of that stuff. And they shorten the barrel up by 5 inches. And so if it's real, it's special. And if it's not, I got a nice little short Enfield that's fun
short
to play
Enfield,
with.
there you go. So Diane says, thanks to your advice on black powder, she's found caps and she's good to go.
Well, good for her. I'm glad she's able to locate that stuff, because it's getting a little bit tricky to
it really
track
is.
some of it down.
So I don't know. I was over listening to your conversation the other day. There was a guy who called you, and he says that he's at a spot in his life where his family is not interested in his. And it's not a gun collection. It is a collection of guns, which is really kind of different.
Back in the 80s, he had money, and his accountant told him to buy guns, so he did. And so now he's sitting on 350 brand new 1980s
type guns.
So and I told him that some of that stuff is actually quite valuable today, because they've stopped importation of it. There's if you got a 1980 Smith & Wesson, you may have paid $300 for it then. It's worth $1,000, $1,500 now. So depending on what guns you bought and how it goes, you may have hit the super lottery with all this stuff.
And you get to you enjoyed buying them, and now you'll get to enjoy disseminating them back out into the populace.
Sometimes it's not really enjoyable, though. When you're doing it, it's aggravating, and you think it's like, well, that should be worth more money, or the fact that you, when you go to an auction house or something like this, and they want their percentage of a cut to sell,
and you're like,
that's a big cut. But like I was telling this guy, if you find an auctioneer who will work cheap for, say, 7-8%, you're probably giving money away because of the fact that he doesn't have the following that an auctioneer is going to charge you 12 or 14%.
The ones who know their value, know their worth, are not going to be the discount brokerage house,
right.
and this is not a place to go for a discount brokerage.
And if you go looking at what they have sold in the past, some of them they're selling a lot of guns, so they got a pretty good don't know what you want to call it, network.
Yeah, they've got a following. They've got a network. They've got people. I mean, you have companies that you watch daily,
right?
Because within their cycle, you know what their cycle is. You know how they auction, and so you're always on the prowl.
When it starts, I'll watch for the first 7-8 days until it's everything's listed out and that, and then I'll make a couple of buys possibly, or at least I'll do my part to push it up to someone else's misery, and
that's all good. Yeah,
you know, it's funny. We started years ago. There's a local auction house called Gun Runner. It's here. So
yeah,
we used to go. I mean, I used to go up there and I would buy a lot of stuff, and I would sell stuff. I would buy things, and we advertised them on the radio. We talked to him. We had him on the show a couple different times, and now he's got such a huge following from across the country that it's hard to get a super deal. I mean, there's still some deals on there, but you got to know what you're doing. It's not just. I've seen him sell regularly like 22 rifles that should sell for $220 for $400, and then I've seen other ones where he had last month he had a nice Merwin Hubert 44.
Okay.
It sold for $710, and it's probably worth 2-3 times that kind of money because they're just not out there.
They're not out there, but it just didn't go. It didn't have the.
It's getting the right guy. I guess the right seat in that.
Right, the right guy sitting in the saddle, whatever that is. Yeah, exactly.
It takes two right guys, I guess.
Yes, because one just it's two or more that want whatever it is that you're selling.
I should have bid on it, so there you go. I let it down. So.
You did. You didn't do your part. But it's interesting. So the part that I thought was interesting was that, you know, over listening to your conversation about how do you disseminate your collection, what do you do, what are the different ways to do it, and then what do you do about ammo, and then what do you do about he's going to check to see if he has a certain this or a certain that you may know somebody to just do a connection. You know,
and it's funny though, but there's a lot of people who are gun people. They may have bought a couple guns, but in the meantime, they have tons of tools. They got scope mounts. They got different things, and some of that stuff, when you look at it, it's junk to the average person because they have no idea what even fits or anything. But to the right guy, it's worth a ton of money. So finding that guy who can identify what each of the pieces are.
To connect them,
and
right?
One time we went to an auction. Well, a guy came to us and his uncle had passed away, and he took us in the basement of the house, and he had a little lathe and a mill and some other stuff.
And he was interviewing people to help him get rid of his uncle's stuff. Okay.
So as we're going through, I picked up a couple pieces here and there, and as we were going out the door, I handed him a rifle I had built out of parts just walking through this room.
And he was like, wait, where did you get this? And he says, I saw you pick up that. And Rob's like, well, it was all just laying there. But if you don't know what all the pieces are.
It was a 1910 Mannlicher Steyr, and it was in beautiful shape, just all disassembled. I slowly screwed it all back together again and give it to him. And so that got me the job of cleaning that mess up and selling it. But
right, because then you could pick up maybe other things and other pieces and that.
And nobody can know it all, but some people don't know any of it, so you got to kind of.
Well, if the guy would put me in the basement, I would be there until I was old and gray. Not that I am, and still not be able to build a gun out of it. So there.
One thing is, some people, I mean, you go to a gun, guess he's a gunsmith, but the only thing he ever does is assemble AR-15s or something.
Right.
He really doesn't know about setting headspace and doing all the other stuff, little things that go into that.
Right.
work.
So there's gun mechanics, and then there's gunsmiths, and it's sort of like the ones. There's that level of I can do the mechanical aspect, or I can do the assembly aspect. I can do the wood carving aspect, or I can do all of it.
You know, it's funny. Like I am very, I love old muzzle loaders. So like full stock Kentucky rifles or Pennsylvania rifle type things, and for about $600, you can buy all the parts to make a rifle. But then you need your 200 hours of time of bolting it all together and making sure this fits that, and everything looks pretty and it's all nailed in and stuff. And the woodworking antagonizes me to death. I mean, the metalwork is so simple; it's like a monkey could do it. But the wood that you look at, a piece
the artistry associated with the wood is not.
It's so. And I always tell you, when you go to buy a piece of wood, to buy the best piece of wood you can afford. And that way, if by accident you come up with a good stock, you've got a good stock on a good piece of wood. If you bought the cheapest piece of wood you could buy, and then by accident you got a good stock, you got a good stock on a piece of cheap wood. So.
Right, that's not pretty, there's nothing redeeming about it. And a beautiful piece of wood is somewhat forgiving to a few of your stock building errors.
I always say, put all the stuff in the room, nail the door shut, and don't come out till you can shoot the lock off.
Yeah, well, I'll be in there for a while. Send food. So we'll be back right after this.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so we are back, and this is the segment of the show where we do the history. And you came in with something that amazed you. It was like a circus trick. And so in the center ring is the most amazing feat that has ever happened to man, right?
It is pretty amazing. I mean, It's not like a circus trick, but this guy named Lee Shavers, who was shooting at the national matches for the Muzzle Loading Rifle Association, and he shot a perfect 40 score at 1,000 yards with a muzzle loader. So you have to take the gun down, load it, put it back up, get your sight picture, and make that shot 40 times in a row.
So a perfect 40. So is it?
It really doesn't say what their target is, but I'm sure that you can find out what the target is for the 1,000-yard match thing. But I mean, even if say it's a king size bed sheet with a circle in the middle the size of a geo hood.
The fact that he is possibly the only person to do it in over 100 years says that it is not.
You think about a modern rifle is built with the real tight springs, real short movement, everything like this. So when you're looking at a rifle that they build today for 1,000 yards, it has micro movements in the action stuff. And a muzzle-loading rifle, it has big, long, sweeping arcs. The trigger parts weigh pounds, not ounces. It's so every time you pull the trigger, you don't get the exact perfect swinging arc to a stop that's in the.
So do you think this guy was prone? Do you think he was in that funky kneeling with his elbows up position?
He was laying down with a sling, but he's still. I mean, it's.
So you have to get up, load, get down, and and depending on your age, that
is kind of stuff. But like I say, 40 shots, perfect score, and at 1,000 yards, and with a rifle that. I mean, it takes, I don't know, maybe a half a second or something from the time you pull the trigger till the gun actually goes boom. Nothing particularly exactly the same between shot number 1 and shot number 15 or whatever. That's one thing about, like, when you go to a guy who's shooting trap or something and they shoot a Perazzi or one of these, it's not so much that the Perazzi is better than your Mossberg, it's just more precise than your Mossberg is. So everything about the Perazzi is set up to do it the same every time, over thousands of times in a row without having to...
So do you think that this guy, I mean, not only is it the rifle, but it is the bullet, and he probably
built the gun himself, and he's shot the gun a lot, so he knows what he's doing.
A lot. But what about the bullets? What about the projectile? I mean, on a muzzle loader, it's like, how perfectly round are they? What are the shape?
Depending on what style of a bullet they're using, whether it's a mini or whatever. But that's one thing, too, is that back in the day, people would say, oh, I got a nice, accurate rifle, but the quality of ammo and bullets and stuff were iffy at best. And it's like the rifle barrel. They could say that it was, say you bought a brand new 270, it's got a 277 barrel in it, but when they go to measure it with today's lasers and like this, it may be 277 at the start, goes up to like 279, comes back down to 276, does a couple different things. And so it's not perfect, where some of these they can go through and find between the lasers and the air gauges and all stuff that it's perfectly straight, it's perfectly polished, everything is the best it can possibly be. So it's going to be much harder for a guy with a rifle from the 1950s to outshoot a guy with a brand new super.
Well, that kind of leads back to that book that you had talked about, the thing, the one minute of angle.
There's a book about a guy in 1960. He wrote a book about his rifle that was accurate, and the whole book was the lament of the fact that one day it was not going to be accurate anymore. So
because he was
the more he shot it, the more he tore it up. So he was crying 288 pages of how every time he pulled the trigger,
I was killing it. I was slowly killing it.
And it wasn't like the old days where you could just go down and today you go to the store and buy a new one, and they're almost identical. Back in the day, you could buy 20 Winchester Model 70s, and one of them may shoot really good, the other one shoot okay.
Right. And he had the perfect one, and so it was perfect for him, and that he knew that he was just slowly. But you think about like age was creeping up on him.
And when I first started reloading, 3006 was set up to go about 3,000 feet a second. And if you wanted to move into a Magnum, like 300 Winchester Magnum or the Holland & Holland, they could get you up to about 3,600 feet a second. Today, with the modern gunpowder, the 3006 will do everything that the 300 Magnum was designed to do at its time. So the bullets are better, the gunpowder is better, everything is better. And so if you think about what the 300 Magnum could do then, what can it do now with the new better powder, better bullets, better. And some of these bullets, you think about it, I don't know if a lot of you guys have shot that Russian cheap metal cased ammo where you buy. I mean, if you can hit a paper plate at 100 yards, you're doing pretty good. You can't guarantee that you're going to hit a 1-inch spot on this thing, but you can switch to commercial ammo and shoot pretty much right to the spot where you're aiming. It's just in the fact that the bullets are made so fast that the wall thickness is a little thicker on one. Maybe it's got like a metal core that was glued in a little crooked or something. They really didn't care. If the first one didn't do it, the next 25 may get there. But as we're getting, manufacturing is getting so much better and faster, and it's much more accurate. I can remember in the 60s that some of the companies would take 22 bullets, empty 22 casings, and then they would clean them all up, and then they would they would assuage them and make 22 bullets to shoot in their match rifles.
Okay.
So on the back of your bullet, it may say Remington or Winchester or something, because they had picked up the empty casings off the ground, cleaned them all, went them to a assuager, trimmed them, and done all the stuff, and made bullets from scratch out of empty 22 brass.
Well, but how do they do that with the rimfire portion?
They just push it through a die that pushes that rimfire portion off of it, and then, like I said, they get in there, they clean the whole thing and flux it, and then put the insert in it and press it in place and crimp it to length. And now it's so much easier. You just go down the store and give me 2 boxes of those 53 grain match bullets, and
and they're so much so much better. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk to Marge Law, who is a reporter for a newspaper in Florida that actually has a gun lady that writes for the paper on a weekly basis.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, KRMAradio.com.
This is Dan Perkins with your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day. If you're a veteran with a disability, are you interested in a program that could give you a free home? Homes for Our Troops is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. These homes restore some of the freedom and independence our veterans sacrificed while defending our country and enable them to focus on their family and recovery. Since its inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar has gone directly to the program to serve veterans. HFOT builds these homes where the veterans choose to live and continues its relationship with the veterans after the home delivery to assist them in rebuilding their lives. For more information, go to their website, www.hfotusa.org, and see if you can qualify for the home of your dreams. This has been your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day.
Okay, folks, I have a story for you. I have a friend who has been my friend for, we'll just say since like the 1980s. So I'm not, it's been a while. It's really been a while. And he is not a gun guy. And he looks at me completely bewildered about the fact that I am involved in the firearms world the way it is. And the way that I am. And he just doesn't quite understand it, but he respects it. And so the other day we were having lunch and he says, I was traveling and I get this newspaper, and in this newspaper is this gal who writes about guns. And so I read it and it was pretty interesting. So I subscribed to the paper. And so I read her articles, and they're really interesting. And I wanted to introduce you to this gal, and her name is Marge Law. And so it's right, this kind of convoluted path to get to where here's my friend who only started reading the gun article because he thought of me when he started to read it. And now he's like, he's completely engaged in the things that Marge has to say. So I reached out to Marge, and I wanted to ask her backstory, and I wanted to introduce you guys to Marge. So Marge is joining us on Eye on the Target Radio. So hey, Marge, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So no, it is absolutely great, and. The paper is called, is it Wakula? Or what?
Yes,
Wauchula? It's Wakulla.
It is the Wakulla News.
The Wakulla. Okay. So the Wakulla News in Wakulla County, Florida. And and you had been the former director of Keep Wakulla County Beautiful, and then you retired and got involved in firearms. And so
I did.
Yeah, that's just it's just such a great story to begin with. So why don't you tell folks the journey as to how you ended up being the gun lady in the newspaper?
Oh, this was purely by accident. I never had guns growing up and didn't have anything to do with them. And then I retired, and I thought, I don't want to be alone. And I met with a man named Joe, and he's in some of the articles. And I asked him, what do you like to do? And he likes to hunt and fish. And he loves guns and the old guns, historical guns, new guns. And so I thought, well, I've never done that, but I can learn. And he was teaching me, and I did major in English literature, so I've always written. And then I thought, well, this is a rural county. Everybody has guns, and we should all know how to use them and to be safe with them, especially women and men who are mature, because I'm of that age group.
Okay. So how did you go about going to the newspaper and saying, you know, you have a garden section, and you have the local sports section, and you have the obituaries, and I want to talk about guns?
Well, you know, I can't remember that far back. That was 2009.
Okay.
I had written, I was the executive director of Keep Wakulla Beautiful for 17 years, and I did write every week in the paper. So they're kind of used to seeing me around.
Okay.
And then I decided, well, I'd like to write about guns, and the editor was very interested, and he said, well, let's give it a try.
Okay, so I just think it's so darn cool. So what? So you know, because I am in Ohio, I don't, and it's a subscription-based paper. We're going to talk about how people can subscribe to it and get some samples or get to see it. But so I've only seen an article or two that my friend Bill has brought me. But what's the response from the community as you write about things? I mean, the article that I saw was explaining how a striker-fired firearm works. I mean, so you definitely get into the trenches of it. You get into the weeds.
Well, I do. Thank you. That's so flattering. I do talk specifically about guns, different kinds of guns and how they work, and I rate them. But I really did start out to talk more to newbies at the range because I wanted them to be safe. I wanted to write an article that sounded friendly and warm, and they could, if they wanted to have a gun and learn how to use it, it would help them feel comfortable. So that's where it started.
I love it. I mean, friendly, warm, comfortable gun articles.
Well, a lot of articles are very, I don't know, information-based, and so they lose the friendly, warm aspect of it. It's more like a manual on
a technical manual where they use terminology that is designed to make you feel subpar and ill-informed.
Right. Even if you know what you're talking about, sometimes you don't know what they're talking about.
I know. There's times when it's like I feel like I know a lot about guns, and I start to read something or I listen to a podcast, and I'm like, wow, you know, your goal is to lose half your audience right off the bat here, or to show that you know so much more than I know. Well, of course you do, because you've researched the topic, and I've not. So your job is to bring me along on the journey.
It's very easy to feel intimidated. You are absolutely right. We were just at a gun shop when the young man, who obviously had not been there very long, said, "Look at the handle on this one."
And you're like,
and then he said he talked about the amount of bullets in the gun. And people often don't really realize that the bullet part is a projectile. It's not the whole thing. So people don't understand, and you need to spell it out. I have a column coming up talking about how you use an UPLULA, and it should be so that somebody could read it and do it and load their gun with an UPLULA.
And that is one of those eye-hand coordination things.
Once you have one, though, you hate being without it. That's the best invention ever.
It really is. Rob bought a pink one so that he could identify it in a crowd, and then somebody else wanted it more than
so
Rob did.
Or a regular black one again.
So it walked away. He was like, "Hey," but
they also make them in neon green, and you know it's a good thing because you look in your range bag, it's a big black hole. Well, you can't.
A friend of mine, he has like a electric yellow colored one. It definitely shows up in his range bag.
That's it. Yeah. But you're right about the range bag. It's like a bottomless pit that things just go into, and periodically you've just got to dump it, look at it, start over, right?
Sort of like the old diaper bag.
Exactly. I have a bad habit of all the spare things. I just have a peanut butter jar, and so if it's like a spare whatever, it just goes in the jar. So then you can sort. You at least have an idea of what is the random stuff because it's floating in the jar.
My range bag tends to get a lot of loose ammo in it, so
Bingo.
occasionally got to dump it out, and then I could shoot for half a day's session just on the amount of bullets that are laying loose in the bottom.
That's what goes in my peanut butter jar.
3 of these, 5 of those, 20 of those. Who knows where they come from?
Exactly. So as you're writing an article to tell them how to do a loader for a magazine, I mean, you have to start with the basics of where's the front of the magazine? How does the loader fit in? What's the mechanism of how, the squeeze and then the push, and then how many times did you have to do it sitting there looking at it to be able to write down the cadence of what you were telling them to do?
Oh, it didn't take long. And then after I wrote it, when I wrote it, I actually had it in my hand. And so I would write a line and then, for instance, squeeze. And then I'd write another line and squeeze and push. And so that wasn't very hard. And then afterward, I asked Joe, could he do it based on listening to me and not on what he knows? And he did.
Okay.
It's like reading a manual on how to drive a stick shift. If you know how to, you can't do it after you're done reading the book.
Well, and that's the thing is that I've had some experience trying to write technical manuals, and it's like, okay, you do something and it takes 2 seconds, and then when you try to tell somebody how to do it,
4 pages later.
Exactly. So, hey, Marge, we are going to go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk to you some more about some of your most popular articles and what is the future going to bring. So, folks, we're going to give you a clue as to how to get to the Wakulla News and how you can check out what Marge Law has to write. But we'll be right back.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seppacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, we are back, and with us is our guest, Marge Law from the Wakulla News, and she is the gun lady, and so she writes an article on a weekly basis. So the paper is a weekly paper, and every week she has a full page in the paper. So it's not just a little column or a little section. There's some content and there's some depth to this. So Marge, do you have followers, or do you have people that contact you and say, "Oh, I love this," or "Will you write about that?" Or
I don't have much of that because the editor, Bill Snowden, felt that I might get a lot of unusual people, and it might not be a safe thought.
Okay.
Now, my friends do read the column, and they're so happy to tell me if I've said something a little incorrect.
Oh yeah, well there is that where everybody wants to flex their gun muscle and show you exactly what they know about something, right?
Yes, and they often know more than I do.
Well, that's how we learn, though, is that you're willing to ask, you're willing to dig, you're willing to research. So how do you get the guns that you discover, that you talk about, that you use as your examples?
Well, truthfully, my Joe has a few guns.
Okay.
And I have a few guns. One girlfriend once asked, "Well, how many guns do you have?" And I thought, ooh. Well, I don't know. We don't count, do we?
Right. I had someone one time ask me, and they were not, it wasn't a friendly ask. It was like, so, how many guns do you have? And I kind of took offense at their line of questioning. So I just asked him back and said, so how much money's in your 401k? The response at that time is, that was extremely a rude question. And I'm like, bingo. So why don't we move on? So, exactly. So do you go to... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Also, people do lend me their guns so that I can shoot them, and I rate them on the trigger pull, the length of the trigger pull, the difficulty of it, how much recoil it has, because almost every woman and a lot of men want to know how much recoil it has. And then how strong, how well is the grip in your hand. For instance, women have small hands, men have big hands generally. So something that feels good for a woman is not going to feel good for a man.
Right. It'll get lost in their hand, or it's too big for yours, or some combo in that aspect. You're right. So do you have, and this may be a personal question, do you have a concealed carry? And so do you have like a favorite gun?
Oh, a favorite? Oh, sure. And my concealed carry, I do have. I've had it for quite a while. Also, our local range gave 7 women a range safety officer class, and I passed that one too.
Oh, nice.
So, yes, it was a good thing. It reinforces the rules of the range and things you should think of at any range. Now, you asked me another question, and I forgot it already.
Oh, no, the favorite gun.
Oh, yes. My favorite gun is a Springfield XDM competition model.
Okay.
It is wonderful. It's 9mm. I had the trigger worked on, which, of course, voids the warranty, so I'm not suggesting people do this. But the trigger is now a 3.5-pound trigger. You hardly have to pull it, so you have to be very aware where it's pointing. When you pull that trigger, or any time, you don't want to even touch the trigger until you're ready to shoot, because this is a very light trigger. It has about a 5 1/4-inch barrel, if I remember the exact dimension, and it is just so darn accurate. Oh, and yes, we did put a red dot sight on it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. See, me personally, I have 2 guns that are kind of my go-to favorites, and one of them is a .45, and they quit making it, a company called Para Ordnance. And and so that company has been absorbed into companies who have been absorbed into companies, and so I think I'm somewhat scared that the technology is lost, but it's my absolute favorite gun is the P14 45, and it's got a really light double action trigger. And so Rob and I had gone to the range, and I picked it up, and they let me go shoot it, and I was like, I'll take it. And he looked at me and he was like, you will? Because I'm a thinker. I have to contemplate for a while a purchase. And the fact that I was like, okay, this is mine, I'm taking it, was just shocked him, absolutely shocked him. And
what was it about it that you liked so well?
I like how it fits, even though it's a 1911 style frame. It's a double stack magazine. It just fits my hand well, and then that light double action trigger is just amazing. So it's consistent, the same trigger pull every time. It's just amazing. So
wow! And how many pound trigger pull do you think it probably has?
Ooh, I don't. Yeah, I'm not probably good at that, but I would say it's in the. So because it doesn't have. You know how typically a trigger you come back to kind of like a shelf and then it breaks. This is just a smooth pull the whole way, and when it breaks, it's always a surprise. But maybe it's a 5-pound trigger somewhere in there.
That's pretty light for 45, sure.
So,
I'm
and then
surprised you like it. Isn't there a lot of kick?
I actually find that the 45 is more of a push than a kick. So instead of like a 40, I'm not a fan of a 40 at all. A 40 kind of twists out of my hand. I just don't. People say I love them, and I'm not one of those. And the 45 just kind of gives you a push backwards as opposed to twisting up or out or any of those kinds of things.
Okay. What's your second favorite?
I have the SIG, the P365. That is a nice, small, compact gun that I have taken for training in different places to where they're like, you would do better if you had a bigger gun. And in the end, it was like, well, if this is the gun I'm going to use, this is the gun I'm going to carry, this is the gun I'm going to practice with, so this is where I want to get better. And so that's what I did. But I went to Gunsight with it, and they have a thing every day to where you challenge all of the other shooters that are in the class. And by the end of the class, I had won the speed and accuracy challenge coin with a gun that was half the size of pretty much everybody else in the class.
Good for you.
So I was pretty happy with that. I was extremely happy with that. It wasn't just slightly happy. It was extremely happy with that. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Now tell me, is that the original? Is it the XL or is it the SAS?
It is the original. Yeah.
I had all three of them at one time until my girlfriend's grandson had his own, and I was in their range, their backyard range, and they have many acres. He shot the heck out of that thing, and I didn't do very well. It was a gun's fault. I had to get rid of it.
There is that. There is that. So we've just got like 40 seconds. The question I've got for you is, do you go to like the NRA shows or SHOT Show or any of those types of places? Is there a place where I and our listeners can meet you?
Just at the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office range. We're very rural. There isn't much down here.
Okay, well, I just was concerned or hopeful that you would do something that is in the bigger industry. So, Marge, I want to thank you very much for coming on to Eye on the Target Radio. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and we'll talk again.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
chose to ride, standing in the station, ready to step inside. All you can see, something that you do, was red as the future was waiting for you. Train rolls in the station, you cannot make a move. Something inside you gives you heat, and then you know it's true. Is the fog lifting, or is it in your mind? You stand frozen as time unwinds. And moan, you can't reach your hand up and stop standing low. Let them take your hand as you lift your face. Rise and take your place.
Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, we are back. And one thing that we did not discuss in our last interview with Marge Law was the fact that if you want to read her articles, you can go to the wakulla.news.com. And it's WAKULLA news.com. And it's free access for your first trip. You can subscribe if you want to. But also, if you then contact the editor, Bill Snowden will make any or all of her articles available for free to somebody who wants to read what she has to write.
Well,
so
it's interesting stuff. So
yeah, I think it's really good, and I would like to I'd like to make that paper and her just a little more popular, because it's pretty out there and it's pretty brave of them. And she, I mean, think about what she said. She rewrote her life starting in 2009 and has been writing about guns ever since she retired. And so I just think that's amazing.
Sometimes it takes someone with a brand new perspective on something to actually make sense of it, because if you've just been doing it for years, it's blah, 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 blah. Right. And so she's learning and she's transferring her knowledge to other people. A lot of people are learning
They're learning
same time.
The journey, walking along with her. So I just find her so adorable.
As everyone knows, we're from Ohio. Nothing new and exciting happens in Ohio until 40 other states actually do it.
Right. So is that what you're talking about, constitutional carry?
Right. So Ohio's looking at constitutional carry. Supposedly it's went through the House. It's got to go through the Senate. And
no, it came out of the House Government Oversight Committee. So it's not even gone through the House. It came out of committee. Now it's got to go to the House section for the bigger vote.
Lots of other places are looking at the same stuff too. So Louisiana's making noise this way, and that there's a lot of different things. Some of it has to do, if you're watching the Supreme Court, there's
that's starting on the 3rd, Wednesday, November 3rd.
Well, this New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin is the case everybody's watching. Some of the liberal news is going crazy because of the fact that they're just going to go in there and rewrite every law and whatever, and you'll be able to carry a gun like it was 1818 again and all this stuff. There's some other court cases in front of the court that's actually even more exciting than this, and it has to do with the EPA and the way that they write the laws. So
because they don't really, the EPA once again doesn't write laws; they reinterpret the laws,
right,
so that would be like the ATF and the reinterpretation.
The EPA had to go in front of the House and Senate to get laws passed. So if you're looking at an EPA Superfund or something like this, all that stuff went to the. But the way that they wrote all that stuff, they started in the 70s by just taking a leap of faith and saying this is how we're going to do it. Well. It's looking like that's all going to go away, and at that point, they're saying about 70% of the laws in the United States are going to have to be reevaluated,
reassessed,
due to the fact that they are written by this lame context of laws that they allowed them to do back in the 70s. So between what's happening with the Supreme Court on guns and what's happening with the Supreme Court on the laws, now also what's his name, Rittenhouse,
the Kyle Rittenhouse the Kenosha, Wisconsin dude.
Right, his law stuff, his case opens up on the, I believe on the 2nd also.
The interesting part about that is that the pundits are saying that there is every indication that it's going to be a shocker. Let's just say they're saying it's going to be a shocker. It may be that they drop everything before the case really gets going.
Well, the thing is, there's a spot where we have laws because we want some kind of rules happening in society, and then we let someone else push us over the top. So, I mean, if you've had to go to court because you didn't wear your seatbelt, if you've had to go to court because you built a fire in your yard or something like this, that's all government overreach. It's designed to be a pain in your rear end.
Thanks for the restraint. Thank you for the restraint there. I was fearful.
There's a lot of this stuff that is coming to a head right now that we're going to see changes
go through the courts, and it's working its way up to the courts. I think you're right.
We don't understand what, I mean, we always say, oh, America, we live in a free country. We don't live in a free country. I mean,
it's more and more restrictive as time goes by. You're right.
I mean, on every level, and so there's a lot of things going on here. It's going to be interesting.
It's like we lived in a free country. Now we live in an HOA.
It's kind of funny when you watch the news. I mean, I don't know if you guys have, remember to go vote on Tuesday. I think everybody's got to vote on something, whether it's your local school or something. But if you're watching Virginia, there's big things going on in Virginia. You're watching New Jersey, there's a good chance that New Jersey's governor is not going to pull through this the way he is expecting to.
Nor is the Virginia governor. I think that things are.
Well, Virginia plays a game. Their governor is not allowed to run in consecutive terms.
So they have two of them, and
Right, so they switch them back and forth, and the guys from New York are paying for whichever hand you want you to look at this time. So they say, here, look at this McAuliffe guy. He's our guy. He's not your guy. He's our guy. But pay attention.
But he's not.
But there's a lot of things going on here, and we're watching. Everybody's like, oh well, Trump says this, that, the other thing, and he's dragging us down. There's a lot of things coming out of Wisconsin right now about some of the nursing homes and that voted really bizarrely and things. A lot of rules. Just before the election, they changed all the rules, and then nobody bothered to argue with them.
Well, the interesting part is, let's go back to the voting. The interesting part is that most of the election issues that were brought up never got decided right or left. It never got decided right or wrong. It never got heard because they said you didn't have standing, or you didn't have this, or you didn't have that. So wait, let me finish my point. And the point is how critical it is for us to all understand that part of the reason why it never got heard was because of where the baseline of judges are, and that how critical judges are to what's happening right now in the United States. And so based on your party, based on your team, based on your whatever, go to your county party and find out. Most judges are nonpartisan, so you don't get to know what their thought process is beforehand unless you go to the party websites, the party Facebook pages to see who's endorsing them.
When Trump was still president, I believe he put 130 federal judges on the board.
Correct.
And I could not believe that they had left that many open seats for him to fill.
They didn't think he was going to be elected.
But the other day I was reading a thing that one of the sheriff's departments in Wisconsin, they're saying 2,300 or 23,000 people live at the same address that voted on this one thing. Either way, it's a pretty crowded driveway. I mean, they're
going to have to. So they're going to have to hear some of these cases, and the wheels of justice grind slowly. But we've got to bring it back to the Second Amendment. We've got to bring it back to guns. But when you really start to look at it, I got a text this morning from Dick Heller, who said, pay attention to what's happening in Texas with this anti-abortion law, because that he is hearing that it could affect local gun laws. Supreme Court hearing for tomorrow, Monday, is about Texas and their abortion laws, but that the Firearms Policy Coalition is saying that there is a tie to other constitutional rights that is embedded in that.
It's all linked together. And getting back to that Rittenhouse, his stuff, they're saying the judge all of a sudden threw out there, they're not allowed to use the word victim, and they had like 4 or 5 different words that were that the company, that the other team was using to try to portray them as being the underdog.
So he pretty much said that they're allowed to use thug, but they're not allowed to use victim. It's going to be an interesting case.
Things there are changing. Pay attention, though.
Right. So there's going to be a lot of news. The Supreme Court news is never really news. People will interpret what's happening, and then we have to wait 6 to 8 months before something pops out the other end like a toaster. So we'll be back right after this.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefakul and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Hey folks, we are back, and with us in this segment we have Spencer Johnson. So we want to tell you a little story, and the little story is that Rob and I were up at the Rick Ector event up in Michigan, and we had an opportunity to meet Spencer and the team from Firearms Legal Protection while we're up there. And the more that we heard and the more interested we were in the conversation, it turns out that Firearms Legal is the organization that we wanted to use to protect us and our families. And so we signed on to the Firearms Legal team, if you will, and we wanted to introduce you to Spencer because he's our guy there. And get to know what's going on with Firearms Legal, why we're playing, why you should play, all of those kinds of things. So, hey, Spencer, thanks for coming and joining us.
Hey, Amanda, thanks for having me today. How you doing?
We are doing good. So,
great to hear.
So why don't you tell folks in a nutshell why Firearms Legal is just the cat's pajamas?
I like that term. Firearms Legal, I just love it because it's truly a good company. This is a company that, doesn't have loopholes, and we want to do the right thing and help protect people after we protect you. You get into a self-defense incident, we want to be there and be your peace of mind. We want to take that financial burden away from you by not only providing you with the nation's best attorneys, but fully paying for them in advance to take that financial burden away from you.
Well, and you really do need peace of mind when you're talking about whether you're using a gun or whether you're using some other tool of self-defense, because this isn't Firearms Legal, even though firearms is in your name, it is not solely gun self-defense related, correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We understand that you can use any legal use of force to be able to protect yourself. We understand that people might not be able to get to their firearms right away, but it's very easy to get to a baseball bat, a knife, a pot pan, or even a flamethrower, as I like to joke around. We cover you for any legal use of force.
Okay, there you go. We had so what happened is that we reached out to you guys and we were like, we really like what you have to offer, and so then you are working with us in an aspect to where we can help our listeners in doing it. And so they can go to your website, and if they use the code letters I on the target, EOTT, then that connects back so that you guys know that they are our listeners, right? I mean, there's some tie-in there, and there is some, I don't know, saving face or something. I don't know how you'd say it. What do you say there, But an opportunity. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, so yeah, we give out that code to not only track to make sure that, we know where the members are coming from, but we want to make sure that we show our appreciation to you by at least having us on here, and we're able to give your members discounted rates as well.
Okay, and that's a cool thing. So we had somebody, as we're talking about Firearms Legal, we had somebody reach out to us and say that they own their own business, and they wanted to know, and I didn't have the answer for this, they wanted to know if they could get a business policy that protects themselves and their employees while they're on the job, should they have to, because they kind of work in a business where they go into some neighborhoods that maybe aren't as, well, we'll just use the word sketchy.
Right, there we go. When it comes to that, I mean, every state is different about what we can do, can't do. This depending on the local laws, but if you want to, you can just have them reach out to me directly and feel free to give them my information. I can take care of everything. But I know we do offer different discounts even above and beyond what we do have right now, that if somebody wanted to sign up their whole business, we're able to give a little bit more discounts that way as well.
Okay. Well, and so because they're, in this guy's case, he is called upon to add fences to protect people's property, and so he's like, generally fences go in areas where you're protecting something or someone, right, or some, yeah. So if folks want more information on Firearms Legal, because they get bombarded with, there's this company and that company and the other company, but Firearms Legal has some aspects, which means that if you've got legal questions, as a member of Firearms Legal, you can get those questions answered in advance, and you don't have to wait until you've had an incident to be able to have that peace of mind of what's going on and making the decisions, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of my favorite things about firearms legal protection is that our attorneys are really hands-on. So we get into an incident, our attorneys are answering the phone, that attorney-client privilege kicks in. But even when you are a member, if you just have any questions about what you can do, can't do, say you're going to travel somewhere, want to know local law so you don't get in trouble, you have free attorney consultation by just being a member with us.
Oh, and that is pretty
Earlier
cool.
in the show, we had a guy who was wanting to travel to Philadelphia or something like that, and he had some questions. So this may be worth his while to sign up, and that way he has access to a lawyer.
Well, that person is a frequent traveler. We have them as a frequent. They communicate with our show a lot, and every time they communicate, they're someplace else. So
this would help him no matter where the someplace happens to be.
It definitely may be to his. So there, his specific questions where I've got a North Carolina permit with Pennsylvania reciprocity. I'm going to be in downtown Philadelphia. Can I carry discreetly? And so that's a specific question that needs to be answered by someone who is very knowledgeable in that area, not just a radio host.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of our plans come with a comprehensive app, and the app is amazing because not only do you have information at your fingertips that can go over all 50 states, all of the laws, but if you're like us regular people who don't speak lawyer, you can feel free to reach out to our legal questions department, and an attorney will get back to you right away.
There you go. So, folks, check out firearmslegal.com. And if you're interested, use the discount code EOTT and become a member like Rob and I. So thanks, Spencer. We'll talk to you.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Dan Perkins with your songs and stories for soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day. If you're a veteran with a disability, are you interested in a program that could give you a free home? Homes for Our Troops is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. These homes restore some of the freedom and independence our veterans sacrificed while defending our country and enable them to focus on their family and recovery. Since its inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar has gone directly to the program to serve veterans. HFOT builds these homes where the veterans choose to live and continues its relationship with the veterans after the home delivery to assist them in rebuilding their lives. For more information, go to their website www.hfotusa.org and see if you can qualify for the home of your dreams. This has been your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day.
Okay, we are back. And so there is so much stuff going on. I mean, we started to talk about it before we had Spencer on as to what's happening in this area or that area, this state and that state. And so one of the interesting things that's happening right now is there's an article that came out in AmmoLand, and it's by Larry Keane. And the topic of it really is the fact that the new New York governor, Kathy Hochul, is that how you say it? Hochul?
I have no idea.
Yeah, and she is she's wasting no time at all in renewing gun control efforts that had been a high point of her predecessor Andrew Cuomo. You know the guy who has now been charged with can't keep his hands to himself, itis. But there's that.
More charges coming, though.
Let's
Stand by.
Stand by. Stand by for news. But
did you see I think they said that as of this afternoon, 24 fire stations had been closed up due to the fact that they're not this mandatory vaccine thing.
Right. So they're letting the EMTs, the firefighters, and the police who did not get vaxxed, they're sending them home.
Did you see where the guy in DeSantis in Florida is paying $5,000 if you want to if you're a New York police officer and want to come to Florida?
Well, no, if you're any place police officer that is being forced to vax and you don't want to vax, you can come. You don't have to just be from New York,
right,
but yeah.
Sure.
So DeSantis is
Think
like,
about
we'll take you.
how much money is these communities paid to train these guys, and then now they're going to throw it away with some of their game playing.
Well, there is that. So this is another piece of it. So they're doing a gun control effort that was $160 million to target crime hotspots, engage youth, and declare gun control a border war at the state lines, and then rebuild police relations within the community of the police that they haven't just canned. But okay. The interesting thing is Cuomo did it, and so now they are they're extending it. So it had been $160 million. They're extending it for more, and of that, $50 million has not yet been allocated, and most of the $159 million promised that has been allocated has not yet been spent. So they're adding money. they promised that at least a minimum of $18.5 million would create 2,400 long-term jobs in communities distressed by gun violence. So this is that. They started to do this. They're in the middle of this program, and they've created 20 jobs so far. They got 2,400 to do, and they've got $18.5 million. But they hired 20 people. So what do you want? But that's not working well enough, so they're going to dump some more money on it. And just pay attention to where they're spending their money, what they're trying to do with it. And nowhere in the program are they holding criminals committing the crimes accountable at all. So that's not even a portion of it. And
the funny part though is the rest of the country is going through their we're getting record numbers of concealed carry permits. We're getting places that aren't calling for you even have a permit or anything. So they're saying that in 2020 that there was just under 40 million total background checks that the FBI uses on their for buying guns and transferring suppressors and different things like this.
40 million.
But how many of them those places don't need a background check?
Well, you use your concealed carry license in a lot of states.
Right.
And so even though the numbers are up, more states have added concealed carry licenses as a thing. So the number is up even more than it was up if it hadn't been up
so it's
to
up
begin
and
with.
it's up more and going to get up more and
even up.
But the thing is if they allow the general public to police their own neighborhoods, they would get rid of a lot of this crime stuff. Also, too, they have some different things. I mean, and I don't know how this is going to all play out, but you're seeing, I mean, I've seen it in print in multiple locations where the gangs say that actually the CIA gives them their guns and stuff. So the Chicago and New York and all these guys are just, they just drop off big crates of stuff and let them play amongst themselves, and it keeps everybody busy this way, and it's better than creating 20 jobs with $24 billion or whatever.
Whatever that is. Right. So the interesting thing is okay, so somebody says that. They're criminals to begin with when they make that statement.
But
do you
trust
believe
them because they're criminals, or do you believe them because you can't trust the other guy either?
I know. And so you just look at that and you're
which team makes you sleep better at night? Knowing that the criminal's got a truckload of guns, or the fact that the government's actually giving them this stuff because it justifies their need to be out on the street doing
this whole conversation does not make me sleep well. So it doesn't matter which way I think that it is, because I'm not sure.
2/3, don't it?
I don't know that it is. I don't know what. You can't recognize the truth, right?
I don't know what the truth is.
Right.
That's where we're supposed to be right now, because
that's
everything you're supposed to know is just be out the window. The funny part I was reading in this thing was that in 1999, the FBI did handgun permits of 2.7 million to over 21 million in the most recent count.
So in 22 years, it has grown
from 2.7 million to 21 million.
Yeah.
They also said that some cities, 6 states, have at least 1 million permit holders for concealed carry, and Florida has 2.5 million permittees.
Isn't that amazing? And then, so even permit numbers are high in states that do not require permits. So because those people people are like, well, why, if your state doesn't require a permit, why would you get one? And it's because we travel. We're mobile. We want to go to other places. If you got a
permit, you can show it somewhere when you say, well, I have a permit from my home state or whatever. Also, too, like in Ohio here, if I want to go buy a new gun, I just show my paperwork, and then you can
use that without a background check, because Now, because it's not really without a background check, it is that you show the documentation that you've already had the background check.
Right, so a lot of times I'll show the stuff, they make a copy of it, and then they bundle my stuff up and out the door I go. Instead of me having to wait for however long it takes for their instant background check, which is not necessarily instant.
Instant. It's like instant rice. It's not instant
instantly done.
Right. But, I mean, when they say, well...
It ain't like that I'm depending on that either. I mean, if nothing else, I probably got 2 or 3 more somewhere in the pocket, so I just got to dig a little deeper.
You'd be good. You'd be good. You could wait with that one, but okay. But you don't want to have to go back because it's an extra drive and an extra trip.
I mean, a lot of they show you like numbers of amount of guns. Well, let's say 8.4 million new gun owners, they're saying. So that's some of the reason why if you bought a new gun, you got to have a new box of bullets. So there's 8.4 million new boxes of bullets that they went out the door with.
Well, they said, and most people buy 2 boxes of bullets, and so it's 840 million rounds of ammunition extra.
That keeps somebody busy on their load line.
Yeah.
Stuff in there.
Right, that's a couple days on the 22 line. Just a couple days, something. 840 million. Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. I had read it years ago that remember the old little 25 automatic bullets that they used to sell little pistols. They were cheap because you could buy a little they call them Saturday specials at the time. Like a Raven 25. The gun cost I don't know $45 to $60.
Right, because they started and said that if they cost $25 or less, that they were illegal. So then they just jacked the price up to $35.
The thing is, they're made out of some kind of a cast aluminum or something, so they can cast and machine them for almost nothing. And but anyhow, they were saying that the 25 automatic bullet was the #1 selling bullet in the country because so many people bought that little $45 pistol, and then they bought a box or 2 of bullets. They weren't the gun that was shot the most. It was just the gun that people bought the most bullets.
Ammo. So now I think it's 9mm. People have just rolled.
Well, the 25 is almost completely gone. When I was a kid, that was the smallest gun you could get a hold of. Now my Diamondback 9mm that I talk about is almost the same size as the 25, and it gives you full power 9mm.
Right.
When we were kids, we had 25s because everybody had them. So
we
would shoot like a 55-gallon drum, and it wouldn't even poke a hole in the drum. It would make a little curved dent off the side of it.
It would make a dent, yeah. It wasn't a super...
The sights were so little, you could barely see the sights to shoot the thing. I mean,
and that was when your eyes were better. So, hey...
Some of them actually shot pretty good, but they were just so small.
We'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seppacool and all the 50 women, 1 from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Why do we carry guns? One of the reasons that we carry guns...
Because police are too heavy?
Well, there is that. And it's our job to protect ourselves. So we provide that first line of defense. And then the police, as well-intended or as well-meaning as they are, come after the fact to help clean up the mess. And then potentially to stop a future thing by solving that crime. And so what's really interesting is that the criminals love gun-free zones, because with a gun-free zone, they know that someone else has already disarmed you.
Well, the funny part is, you're looking at this article here, but it's just 1987 Florida all over again, where as a resident of Florida you could carry, but as a non-resident you couldn't. So they would just wait till you come off the airplane, got on your rental car, and they figure, well, you must not live there. And then they would stop you and kill you for whatever. And
the crime was the amount. It changed Florida's policies in a couple things. They stopped marking rental cars so that you could easily identify. It used to be that there was a big bumper sticker on the car that said which rental car agency you were with.
Right.
And so that just marked you for mugging.
People needed that, though, because when it comes time to take the car back, it's like, I don't even know where I got it.
I don't know where I got it. Right. But it can be inside. So that was what happened there. And then Florida opened up their out-of-state carry so that you could get off the airplane, arm up, get in your rental car, and go. So that changed that dynamic.
It all started, they actually had some German
tourists
that were actually killed going to the House of the Mouse, and
right.
That's what turned the thing around. But as you're saying now in California, Chicago, New York, the places where they're not allowing their regular residents to be armed, it's open season on everybody, and especially on the...
So now they're going after like Uber drivers and Lyft drivers. So here's the thing. You want to mug somebody, but you don't want to go to any effort? You just call them. They'll come to you. You can mug them, right? I mean, and that's
Matter of fact, you could order dinner while you're at it, and that way then you got a pizza or something.
Well, in this case, this guy, there is, so unarmed Uber drivers are being targeted in Chicago. They identified a guy his last name is Young, as the attacker because he had picked up Thai food and got an Uber driver to pick him up. They were going to someplace else when they tased the Uber driver a couple times, threw him out of his car, and took off. But they wrecked the car that they stole because they'd spilt their Thai food while they were trying to eat and drive the stolen car.
It's so spicy.
There you go. According to prosecutors, Young
chicken and waffles on the road.
You can. It's a mess. According to prosecutors, Young was adjudicated delinquent just 2 years before for an armed robbery case, but had been sentenced as a juvenile. And so so now he's 19 years old and he's moved on to Uber drivers. But you look at that and you go, whose job is to protect yourself and your family? And it's yours. Why do you have a gun? That would be one of the reasons why. But Uber and Lyft make it to where their drivers will be fired if they're carrying while they're driving.
Well, there was a couple of years ago where the pizza delivery drivers were going through the same thing. If they caught you with a gun while you were delivering their pizzas or whatever, then
you'd be canned and you'd lose your job. So the question is, do you want to lose your life or do you want to lose your job? And my answer is I was looking for a job when I found that one.
There's plenty of jobs out there for sure.
Exactly, there is that. But the places that are gun-free zones are just open you up to be able to be a victim, and it makes it even more.
Well, that's who we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be victims.
No, but in this case, here's another story by John Bosch. And so there was a guy who got angry when he was fired, and so he came back to kill the employees at the company that fired him, but he didn't realize that there was a company shotgun on campus. So go ahead, talk about this.
Who wouldn't want a company shotgun?
I just think it's pretty darn amazing that an employee grabbed the company shotgun from the office and confronted him.
He ended the rampage with a load of buckshot. So they said that it pretty much took the fight out of the.
Well, there you go. So what stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, and so that was where that happened. So again, whose job is it to protect you? Yours. Whose job? I love companies that have company guns.
Here's where there's some COVID funds the government laid out so that we could all bask in the free money.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're showing that the anti-gun groups have figured out how to tie into that so that they can use the money for their own personal.
Everytown for Gun Safety is hosting webinars to teach officials how to tap into the $130 billion to advance gun control initiatives. $130 billion.
That's a lot of free money if you know how to get to it.
Well, there you go. So I challenge each of you to sign up with Everytown for Gun Safety, attend one of their seminars, and then figure out how to hijack the money to the other side.
Right, because you could always get the money and then donate it to Second Amendment Foundation.
Well, or when you really look at gun safety organizations, that would be RSOs, that would be gun trainers. Those would be the gun.
You went to your local gun shop and you paid for everybody's getting their concealed carry permit this month.
That would be, if you could figure out a way to do it, wouldn't that be a bonanza? Right? But sometimes it's figure out how to skin the cat in. That's a term that's kind of weird, but find a different way to do something. We'll just leave it at that. This is Halloween, and that is not.
Skinning cats ain't the thing, huh?
No, it's not. No, I like my fur on my cat.
You know, here's a guy works at a jail. He was buying guns and then immediately reselling them. And the funny part was is that their biggest complaint of this is when he fills out the 4473 form, it asks if he's the actual transfer buyer of the gun, even though he quickly resold them to unknown individuals. But at the time that he was actually buying them, yes, he was the actual transferee and buyer. So it's their paperwork that's failing them and not their, I mean, yeah, you're supposed to be playing within the letter of the law and
the intent of the law. So the question is, was he quickly resold? Did he already have candidates? If he was buying because someone else said, I would like a blah, then he wasn't, right? Because now he's buying on speculation.
But if he just bought, say, Glock pistols, because everybody would buy a Glock from you, I mean, it's like having a toaster. Well, I want a four slice with the...
Right. So, but in one case, he sold it to a felon that was used in a crime 6 days after the original purchase from the gun dealer. So this guy was augmenting his money by buying and selling. So it's a straw purchase. It is an illegal transfer. And I mean, there was recently that gal that had bought thousands of guns was reselling them in Chicago. Same way. So I think that every legal gun owner should be looking at these people to say, throw the book at them.
They don't do anything to them, and
they need to.
Even some of the like mayors and governors that are caught doing things that they
just let it go. And I think that if we've got strict gun control laws that are applied to me and you,
bad judges. We need judges that are strong,
consistent, and the message is consistent. So this will be another story that we're going to keep an eye on. So hey, we'll talk to you guys next week.